Hey there, guys, and a big welcome back to the Blaze TV podcast. It's Ed Kimberley and Stu Coles with you, as always. And our guest on this edition is new Coventry Blaze defenseman, hopping over the pond from Sweden, Jakob Stridsberg. Jakob, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, and a big welcome to the Coventry Blaze.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to be a part of the team, and I'm excited to come over to the UK in a couple of weeks.
So yeah, we're really excited to have you over here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You're from Jönköping, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So presumably that means you grew up as a HV71 fan.
That's correct, yeah.
And I would go out on a limb and just say that playing. Well, actually, no, I'll ask you how it was. I won't put words in your mouth.
Mhm.
What was it like playing for the junior setup in HV71 as a younger man?
Well, that's the big team in my hometown. That's the team everyone will play for, and yeah, this is just like all the other teams in Sweden. You follow the SHL team up all the levels, and you try to make it to the A team. And I was fortunate to go all the way up to the J20 team. But yeah, that's the team I'm cheering for now too when I'm older, and yeah, it's my team. Yeah.
Do you remember what it felt like that first time? What was the first year that you were there? Was it U16 or before?
It's long before that. You start when I think I was 6 or 7.
Oh wow!
You start working your way up, and then yeah, it's all the way to your J20. And I was 19, I think. Yeah.
Wow. So you were pretty used to pulling on the blue and yellow then.
Yeah.
There wasn't like a moment where you were like, oh my God, I'm playing for my hometown team. Oh, that's cool though.
Yeah, it's a little different in Sweden, but yeah, that's how it works.
So you were there, you were talking about the HV71, the senior men's team having success. While you were in J20, you won back-to-back J20 championships. Presumably it would have been a similar group of guys. What were the two teams like that won those titles?
Yeah, there were two very, very similar teams. Some of the guys, played the first year, and they also played the second year. Some of the guys play in the SHL today and have played a few games over the years. But yeah, just we I guess we took the back on the A team as well, and they had some really successful years, and yeah, I was really fortunate to be part of that too. So yeah, that's like the top league you can win in Sweden. So yeah.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, even though I think you get this in junior leagues, no matter where you play, North America, Sweden, Czech, wherever it is, you kind of all in roughly the same age bracket. So you do get a lot of those guys, but sometimes those championship runs, if you're lucky to do a back-to-back, are quite different. So what were the two title runs like? Were they also similar, or were they very different?
They were actually very similar. But both had the regular season we played very well, and then both years we lost the first game in of the playoffs. It's best of 3, and then turned it around there and won two straight games, and then made it all the way to the final. So started with a little bit of adversity, and then turned it around, I guess. So yeah.
Fair enough. And just overall, when you kind of think back on, being with HV71 for the whole of your junior career, do you think that stability was really good for your development? Did you think it impacted it at all?
I think it was really good. Like it's with all the SHL teams, they're all like the trainings are really good, and the facilities are really good. So all the coaches are really good. So I think that creates like a little bit of confidence, and you get all the best experience from playing good games, and yeah, good training, all that. So I think it was really good for my development. Yeah.
And I've got to ask you one more thing, and it's probably to just put into context just how good your junior team were, because you were playing alongside Kevin Stenlund. He just won the Stanley Cup in Florida. Kevin Fiala, who's pretty much a star with the LA Kings. What's it like playing with those two guys as a junior?
Yeah, they're really good guys. Yeah, like you said, Kevin Stenlund just won the Stanley Cup, and Fiala has been really good in LA. So yeah, they were outstanding when I was there, and yeah, you can see why they're on good teams today. So yeah.
Stu?
Indeed, good teams like the Los Angeles Kings. We're a big fan of that. Then after you sort of finished there, you went off to the NAHL, and you went all the way to Fairbanks. That's quite the long journey from Fairbanks, or from Sweden to Fairbanks. What prompted that decision?
Well, mostly academic. I wanted to do school. In Sweden, we don't really have like a school system and play on a high level. And then you automatically draw to the US because they have a really good college and all that. So that's kind of what you have to do. You have to start in the junior leagues and prove yourself and show yourself for all the scouts over there. And yeah, I got drafted to Fairbanks, and heard some good things from a couple other Swedes that had been there before me. And yeah, it was me and one of my buddies, Jesper, that also went there. So, and I played with him in H371. So it was a little bit of a good fit too, that he came with me first year, because my English wasn't very good either. So, but yeah, really cool place to play hockey. One of the best junior places you can play, I think, because yeah, we went from 50 spectators to probably 2,000, and that's a little bit different in the US junior leagues.
And just for a bit of context, you mentioned Jesper. That's Jesper Erval, who had been recently played for the Manchester Storm. So
yes.
A player that some fans will be familiar with over here. So you mentioned about having that a few guys that you knew on the team. Was that really help that transition? You say with the English and sort of getting up to speed with the sort of maybe the slight change in culture? Yes,
I think so. Yeah, especially yeah, like I said, my English wasn't very good when I first moved there, so it was nice to have one or two Swedes that I could talk to, but you get into it really quick. Like everyone's always nice on the team, so it's the transition is pretty quick too.
And what was the difference in hockey like, moving from the sort of the J20s to the NAHL? Were there much differences in the sort of like the style of play?
Yeah, I would say so. Like the European game is a little bit more, more time. Maybe they're a little bit more skilled. In the US, it's quicker, more physical, smaller rink, obviously. But I really like the game over there. But it's hard to compare the levels too. Like that's always tough to do. But they're 1 year older in NA and the USHL too, so that makes a little bit difference too. But yeah, it's a little bit quicker maybe in the US, but obviously more skill in Sweden, I think.
And then that's the second year that you're there in Fairbanks. You win again. So what was that? Three championships in 4 years, pretty much. That must have been like winning's becoming a bit of a habit.
Yeah, almost. We actually had a good team my first year there too. So we were a little bit disappointed that year. Maybe that's why a lot of guys came back for our second year too, because we knew we had a chance at it. And we had a really good team my second year. So yeah, it was a good time over there.
But as you mentioned, a little bit ago, you said that the main reason for going was schooling and going down that route. So next stop is the NCAA, and that comes to calling. And you went from possibly one of the coldest teams to play hockey to one of the warmest. So off to Arizona State and the Sun Devils. What was it that drew you down there?
It was like you said, it was minus 40 Celsius in Fairbanks and plus 40 in Phoenix. So it was just, I don't like, they were they played a hybrid year. The year I was in Fairbanks, and they just became D1 when Greg Powers, the coach there now, started talking to me, and he was really selling me on that I was going to get a chance to play right away, starting a culture over there. And don't regret that decision at all. It's probably right now, I would say, one of the best places to play in NCAA, especially with the new rink they got. And yeah, I'm really happy to be part of the culture I started there, and yeah, it was cool.
I've seen a few clips of that facility, and it looks absolutely fantastic. It's one of the things that you sometimes marvel at, that the American universities have with some of the facilities that the NCAA are able to put towards their teams.
Yeah, really.
While you were there, you played with another former Blaze player, Joey Ratz, at the Sun Devils. Do you remember much about Joey at all?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I do. It was my first year. I think I played with him, and then I think he went to France, if I'm correct, and then over to England. He's a really good guy. I like playing with him.
Yeah, and we certainly we hear recently that he's doing well on the road to recovery. So we're all still very much pulling for Joey here in Coventry. You mentioned that the Sun Devils had kind of transitioned into that sort of D1, and they'd also gone in as an independent school. We've spoken a little bit with previous guests on here about the strength of different conferences in the NCAA and how you sort of sometimes build up those rivalries. What's it like playing as an independent? What does that feel like for you as a player?
It's a little bit different. We were really low ranked our first year. I think is around 50 or something, and to get into the tournament, the playoffs, you have to be ranked 12. So it's really, really tough to get into. And but I mean, we got to play a lot of different schools. We got to pick our own schedule, pretty much. So we got to go to all those cool places like the Boston, Minnesota, Ohio, like all the big schools. So we got to see those too. And we were lucky to make the tournament last year because we had a really good team our last year. So yeah.
It's certainly a challenge to make that tournament, like you say. A lot of schools fighting for those 12 spaces, and a lot of it comes down to subjectivity and who looks better than who on paper. So to get there is quite the achievement. Was there? Because there's been a bit of a change in the NCAA recently with sort of like eligibility rules and sort of like being able to earn money and the like. One of the things that we possibly see sometimes. Did you have any issues with like having played a few pro games previously? Was that any that you had to sort of talk about with this college before going?
No, not really. I played a few Hockeyettan games, but they don't consider that as professional. But I only had 3 years of eligibility because it's some rule when you turn 21 you have to study online courses, and I kind of misunderstood that a little bit. So I only got 3 years, but was kind of one of the reasons too. Like I only wanted to play 3 years, kind of try to finish school quick and go pro. So it worked out pretty well too.
I am not going to disagree with getting your academics done and behind you. That's for certain. I'll, as you've mentioned about getting it done and turning pro, I'll pass on back to Ed.
Yeah, I was going to say we talked to. It's funny because we talked to one of your teammates, Brandon Alderson, and he went to the Ontario League and only kind of went to the Ontario League by accident. He wanted to go do school and do university, and then he got an NHL contract that delayed university again. And it sounds like he's going to do schooling in Coventry like 10 years into his career, which I think is kind of funny. But coming into your pro career, you turned pro in the Allsvenskan with Vitterhasten. Had a good year. I mean, you guys went all the way to the playoffs, and then I guess something unusual happened in COVID hit and put the brakes on everything. What was that year like? What was that experience of doing well, thinking, okay, maybe we can take a run at this here, and then it all just get taken away?
Yeah, it was, yeah, like you said, it was a strange year for everyone. But yeah, we had a really good season that year. It was, I think it was, we played one playoff game, and then on the bus there they said it might close down, but they're not really sure. And then we still play the game, and then after the game they said it's all closed down. So yeah, we could have had a shot at it, I think, but yeah, it's hard to know now. But it was, yeah, like you said, we had a good year.
Yeah, what was it like kind of transitioning from the college game into the pro game? Because the Allsvenskan's a serious league.
Yeah, it's a really good league, but also like NCAA it's a little bit older. Like some of the guys are 25, 26, I think, almost. So it's not that much of a step, I think, but it's still, yeah, you play against 30-year-olds, and everyone want to make it to the SHL. So it's a tough league, but that's kind of what I wanted to do that too. Like I didn't want to stay in the US. I wanted to get the chance to play in Hockey Allsvenskan because I got a good offer there. So got to play a lot, and that's why how you build your confidence too. Like you want to play a lot as a younger guy. But yeah, it was cool first year.
Yeah, and then I guess a bit of an interesting second year, because I don't know what the situation in Sweden was like. So you ended up getting some games in a tan down at Darlin. Was it a full year? Was it a shortened year? How did that kind of pan out?
No, that was a full year. I think we started with 8 people in the stands, and then it was 50, I think. But yeah, that also had a really good team that year because a lot of guys that couldn't go abroad or play somewhere else stayed in my hometown. So we had a really successful year that year and started something for that team in Hockeyettan too.
So to break the fourth wall a little bit as a bit of an interlude, we saw that Jakob had gone a little bit dark there, so we got a nice little tour of his apartment while he put the lights back on. But kind of, I guess, while the world had the lights come back on, you had a year that you started in Kristiansund, but then ended up back in Vita Hästen, where you stayed for I think it was nearly 2 seasons in total. How did that come about, starting for one team and going back to another?
Yeah, I didn't really play that much in Kristianstad. The team had a good year and didn't really work out for me. I guess it's sometimes that happens too. But yeah, just called up the coach in Vita Hästen and asked if he wanted a D-man, and got back there and got my confidence back, I guess, and yeah, started playing really well, and then got another contract the year after that too. So yeah, played there for 2.5 seasons now, and yeah, and then they got bankrupt my last year. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. We heard about that because I think you guys finished mid-table, didn't you? And then obviously the situation happened there. That must have been a tough one.
Yeah, really tough one. Yeah, it's like I said, Vita Hästen and Norrköping, the town. It's been really close to me now, and yeah, it's a lot of good years there. So yeah, it was a sad day when that happened. So.
But I think, selfishly, you like you said, you kind of got what you wanted out of it. You got to play a lot of minutes. You got to get your confidence back, which is really everything as a player, to be playing with that kind of that chip on your shoulder almost. And then the situation happens in Vita Hästen, it goes bankrupt, and that opens some doors to you. And you ended up taking a very short flight down to Frederikshavn in the Danish league. What prompted that move? Why did you decide to go to the Midtable game?
No, I just wanted to do something else. I think try different leagues, and I decided on Denmark. I was deciding on Norway or Denmark, and I think Denmark was a good fit for me. Yeah, it's pretty close to my hometown as well. It's actually a boat ride from a town close to me, so it's really close to the family and all that. So fit perfectly.
Are they very similar in terms of the hockey? I'm just trying to think. I think you can maybe have a couple more import guys in the Danish league than in the Allsvenskan, but is the style of hockey, the pace of the hockey very similar?
It's similar. I'd say it's probably mid Allsvenskan, I think. Like again, it's hard to compare, but I think it's nine imports, I think. So yeah, I was just thinking like. I heard a couple of guys that say it's more of a high paced game, and yeah, I really like the style of play there too. On the other hand, we didn't have a great year last year, so yeah.
I was going to say, it's one of those things, isn't it? You have a season. If it doesn't really go your way, that's one thing. It's kind of, if you have a good group in the dressing room, it takes the edge off a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely. I think we had a good group. It just didn't work on the ice, I think, and yeah, it's just that happens sometimes. Yeah,
it does. No, for sure. And hockey players are generally, very selfless when it comes to talking about individual accolades. It's usually, talking about the team aspect first. But one thing that kind of guys like to have in terms of the end of season stats, yeah, goals, sure, but forwards tend to snap those up. But one thing that's open season is the plus minus, and you're one of the only teams that one of the only players on that team that had a positive plus minus and led the team actually at the end of the season in plus minus. Was that something that you took a little bit of pride in when that season wrapped up?
Yeah, absolutely. I describe myself as a two-way defender, and I take pride in defense first, and just try to get the chances from defense first and then go offense. And yeah, but yeah, plus minus is always like sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't, and yeah, I guess sometimes you get lucky with that too. So it's yeah, but yeah, it stands out. Yeah, it does.
Well, I found in this game you make your own luck. Anyway, Stu, I'll let you bring us up to date.
Yeah, and you've said there, you wanted to try some new things, and obviously a new thing is coming to the Elite League and coming to Coventry. So why move from Denmark to the UK, and why Coventry?
Yeah, good question. I was just after that year, it was just like had a really bad year, I guess, from both team, but just didn't want to rush anything either. So just been looking at different leagues, I think, and I think the Elite League is on the rising. I think they have a lot of NCAA guys coming in, a lot of East Coast guys, some AHL guys too, and I think it's more. I don't really know, but it's more like a hybrid from the US and Europe, I think. And I hope that fits my game. I'm not really sure. It's hard to say now, but that really intrigues me. So it's going to be a fun experience to play in a different league, I think.
And I think I can draw some parallels perhaps, because you mentioned about the move to Arizona and how the coach had kind of sold you on it was the start of a project and it was a kind of a new sort of team coming in and a chance to start the culture. That sounds awfully similar to some of the conversations that we've had with Kevin Moore recently. So what have you spoken to with Kevin Moore about sort of coming to Coventry?
Yeah, we have talked a few times. I feel like I like his attention to the game. He really speaks passionate about it, and yeah, he really sold me on that. I'm gonna play in all situations and all that. Of course, you got to earn that too. But I'm just excited to be a part of his start of his career too. Like he's a new coach, I think, for this level, and but he seems really passionate and like a hockey nerd, kind of. But yeah, it's I'm gonna develop too as a player, I think, and hopefully develop Coventry too as a team. So I'm excited for that.
I'm glad you said hockey nerd and I didn't, but I think it's probably about on the money, to be fair. You won't be the only Swede in the team. Kim Tallberg obviously has been here in Coventry for a little while now. Had your paths crossed with Kim before this season? Have you spoken much to him about coming to Coventry? Has there been sort of any interaction there?
I talked to him before signing, and he talked really highly of Coventry as a city and the team. I played a few times against him in Sweden. I don't really remember that much, but I remember he was tough to play against. He really tough to play against. But maybe it's a little different when he played in Allsvenskan, maybe a different role, and from England too.
And you described yourself as a two-way defender. Could you perhaps explain to the fans what that means?
Yeah, it's I take pride in defense first, and then try to join the rush. But I'm also good with the puck, good skater. But yeah, two-way defender is just good in both ends. I think that's the right word.
And it isn't now. It's not too long. We often have been asking some of the new guys, what have you been doing with your summer? But the summer's almost over, and it's now almost time to get over in Coventry. So perhaps what are you looking forward to the most about the upcoming season?
I'm just excited to be a part of Coventry. Excited to live in a new country like England. I'm a huge football fan, so hopefully you can see some games too. And then heard they got some good golf courses too, so maybe I can play some golf. But yeah, I'm excited to live in a new country and experience that too.
Now that you've mentioned it, I'm going to have to ask, but do you have a team that you support in football?
Not in England, but I like Barcelona. That's probably my team, but not in England yet. I'll find one.
That's a very safe answer to avoid alienating portions of any particular fan base. So I very well done there.
I was just going to say, if you've not got a UK team, you could just go with Coventry City. I think that's pretty neutral and would work out for everybody. No one could blame you.
Yeah, I'll hopefully I can see some games.
Oh yeah, they've been the local side have been good recently. We nearly got into the Premier League a couple seasons ago, just missed out on the playoffs this year. They look like they're making a run at it, so that'd be cool. And if you do choose Coventry City as your team, I'll tell us a little anecdote. I was on the bus to Sheffield with the boys a couple of seasons ago, and we had a Finnish goalie, and he was a Norwich City fan because they had a Finnish striker called Teemu Pukki, and he scored. Coventry City lost. I think it was like 4-0 or something. They got thrashed. And Pukki scored after about 10 minutes. He was like, hey, yeah, Pukki scored on the bus. And there's a couple of Coventry lads on that team. And they turned around and quickly told him to sit back down and keep his mouth shut. So you'll find that going on the trips to different rinks, exploring those rinks, I think just about as fun as finding a team to support over here.
Yeah, I'll probably start cheering for Coventry then. Yeah.
I think my work here is done. Jakob, it's been fun. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us. And guys, thank you so much for joining us again on the Blaze TV podcast. We'll see you for another episode real soon, and we'll probably see you for some games at the Skydome soon too. Bye for now.